Hey everyone, and welcome to the results video of the mini ghost train contest. In this contest all the players had to make a ghost train ride on a 15 by 15 map. Now we got some beautiful entries, including this one. I'll show all of the entries first, and after that I will reveal which one is the winner of this round. Alright, in last place we have this entry from Glitchy Carrot. I think it was the first entry that he made for any contest on my server. So for our first entry, I don't think that this is actually all that bad. So what we see here is this ghost train ride in what looks like a swamp. Lots of carnivorous plants here in the water, and a big building over here which houses the ghost train track. We can look inside a bit. You'll see a snowman here for some reason. Oh, creepy ghost. I guess it is the kind of entertainer that looks most like a ghost. Maybe the astronaut would have worked as well. What I would probably recommend Glitchy Carrot is to actually have the water level a little bit below the land. I think that will usually make it look a little bit nicer. Let's quickly take a look inside of the building. Yeah, there doesn't seem to be much of decoration inside. Alright, yeah, for our first entry, I think this is actually pretty good from Glitchy Carrot. Alright, next up we have the entry from Der Sunger. Der Sunger made this big ghost train over here. It actually uses a wild mouse track for quite a large proportion of the ride. Now, what I saw people type in the comments was that actually quite a few liked the spiral lift of the ride. I think that was also my favorite part of this. Actually looks pretty nice, and I like how it's built into this tower. For the rest of the ride, yeah, I kind of do have the feeling that it's built a little bit too much like a coaster. So there's this big drop over here, and actually for quite a big part of the ride it's actually really fast. And these ghost trains, well, usually they just travel through a building. Usually they're actually pretty slow, and they pass by a lot of scenes. And that's usually what the appeal of these rides is. So yeah, that's just something that a lot of people commented about. Now, personally, while I like this spiral slide, it may have been yeah, maybe it would have been a good idea to actually consider the color choices for the wooden coaster track over here. I think it clashes a little bit with the wild mouse track. This actually looks like one of the default colors that you can have for the wooden coaster track. So probably that could have been an easy way to improve this entry. Now let's take a quick look inside. Looks like there's a little bit of decoration on some floors. Here we can see some skeletons. Probably would have been nice to have a nice flooring here rather than this yellow grid. Okay, next up we have the entry from Shrugger. Again, a first entry from Shrugger. So it's a nice little castle here. I actually quite like the gardens surrounding the castle. These paths pretty simple, but I like the bone fences, and especially the bones around the queue. I think that's actually a pretty cool detail. Now, let's quickly take a look inside here. You can see a little bit of decoration here. There's a skeleton here in the middle. You can also see an entertainer and a spider. Might have been nice to actually have some rooms here. And if you're gonna decorate on the inside, maybe it's also nice to actually use some flooring instead of the rocky floor that was used here. Overall, I think this is actually a pretty nice entry, and it's actually fun to see the guests also walk on the roof of this building. Okay, the next entry is from Bags. Bags made this clown-themed entry called Colorophobia. I guess that's a fear of clowns. So I guess this ride will help guests get over their fear of clowns, or maybe it will just make them more scared of it. Yeah, I quite like this building, especially the entrance. I think it's quite funny. It's shaped like a big clown. We can actually see inside parts of the building. This looks like clown animatronics. Something which I noticed is that this ride only has 4 vehicles. Maybe it would have been nice to actually have a few more vehicles cycling throughout the track. Although it does look like the ride is in shuttle mode, so for part of the track it will actually travel backwards. So maybe it's not actually possible to actually have the ride or to actually have more vehicles on the track. But yeah, I think the ride is actually pretty nicely decorated overall, and it's a fun entry with some nice details. Okay, next up is the entry from Congoi. He told me he speed ran this entry, so he built it in just a few hours. Now, he actually built this ride mostly inside of this pyramid. I think that's a really good usage of this pyramid scenery object. Yeah, I like how this outside part here is decorated. And it's also fun to see the Sphinx here with a little waterfall and the cars traveling around it. So let's take a quick peek inside here. On the inside, yeah, I quite like how this path here is done. There's also some decoration here on the inside. I like this fire pit here. Yeah, other than that, the decorations are a little bit sparse. But yeah, I think it's a really cool entry from Congoi. Alright, next up is its entry from Colorblind Unicorn. Now, he made this entry what looks like a portable dark ride, so something you would typically find on a fairground. Now, to reinforce that idea, you can actually see some trucks behind this building. So I'm guessing these are the trucks that are actually used to transport this ride, or part of the trucks that are used for it. This is once again one of these Haunted Mansion rides, which has actually been put in shuttle mode. So that means that when they reach a dead end, they will actually reverse direction. And that has been used to actually make them go backwards here. Now, inside this building, there's actually a few funny scenes. So if we use the cutaway view, maybe a little bit difficult to see here, but over here, the cars, they actually arrive at this scorpion animatronic, and then right before they reach it, they actually reverse direction here. I really like interaction with scenery like that. I think that's a pretty cool part of the ride. So yeah, I think this is really well done. We can also see some other nice decorations on the inside here. So yeah, wonderful entry from Colorblind Unicorn. Alright, next up is this entry from Johnson. He made this really big castle. This is nice towers over here. You can see a lot of seals flying around. I guess they are ghosts. Lots of decorations here on this castle as well. Let's quickly take a little look inside. Yeah, all these floors are decorated. You can see some staff members walking around here as well. Lots of skeletons. Yeah, lots of decorated rooms which the ghost train travels through. Well, when you make a ghost train, I think that's always a good thing to do, because that's really what you go in a ghost train ride for. Yeah, just lots of nice rooms to see here. I also like how you can see the queue here, also nicely decorated. It's also always a good thing to do. A beautiful first floor. I guess this is also a ghost. Maybe it's a boo. And yeah, what I also really like is how Johnson actually used these roof objects to actually create smoke on the floor above. I think that's really clever usage of this object. So yeah, I think this is a really good entry from Johnson. The only thing I probably would have done a little bit different. Well, for example, the outside of the castle, I think it looks a little bit repetitive. I also heard some other people say that. So maybe try to vary the window types a little bit, maybe. And also, yeah, this building looks a little bit blocky. Might be well, the building might look a little bit more interesting if the building shape's a little bit less regular. For example, maybe another tower could have fit here, or maybe one over here. Maybe some different kinds of walls. I think that would have made the overall shape of the building a little bit more interesting. But still, overall, I think this is a really good entry. Okay, then we have a tie for 7th place. This is another entry from a newcomer. This is the entry from Final Fatality. And Final Fatality remade this hotel, if I'm not mistaken, where The Shining was recorded. I believe that's what this hotel is. Maybe it's also in the names of the entertainers. Ghost of 217. I think it was the hotel from The Shining, but I'm not completely sure anymore. But yeah, I think the outside of the building already just looks great. Yeah, just great shapes for these walls, and I think that it's quite an interesting design. Also, like that some different windows were used here in parts. That's actually quite nice. Also, like how the roof is done. That's all really interesting. And the front of the building also looks pretty nice with this little maze in front. Here we can also look inside the building. You can see all these floors are also decorated. We can also see the check-in desk and the check-out desk here. You can also see a car here on the inside. I think that's also pretty nice. It's a repairman. And these floors here, which the ghost train passes through, are all also decorated. You can also see a room here with some spiders. And I really like how these ornamental objects here are actually used as spider webs. I think that's actually really clever. So yeah, it's a fun build and some fun use for objects here. Okay, here's the entry from ArKirsch, also 7th place. Oh, he made this huge building here. Let me zoom out a little bit. Yeah, it's a huge building with some fun object usage here. Lots of movement. It is a little bit on the glitchy side. You can see lots of flickering here. Yeah, I think it's always a good practice to try and avoid some glitching throughout the entry. You can see a ghost flying around here. Yeah, it's actually quite fun to use the cutaway view here and explore the different floors. Although some of the floors do look a little bit on the empty side. But the walls are nicely decorated at least. Yeah, as for the ghost train track, yeah, it travels all the way upwards here. Then it travels outside here for a part of the building. And then at some point it goes inside the building again. Now, what I found a little bit strange was maybe that first there's this big B&M track here. Then at some point over here it switches to the Wild Mouse track. I think this transition doesn't really look right. Looks a little bit weird, I think. Probably could have been done in a nicer way. Maybe using the Wild Mouse track here everywhere outside, or the B&M track would have been a better decision, maybe. Also, it does look like the ghost trains actually travel through some of the objects here, which maybe could have also done a little bit nicer. But yeah, I think the nicest part about this entry is of course the outside of the castle, especially the front here. Yeah, I think it's actually really nicely decorated. Alright, next up is the entry from De Brew. He made this temple here with also some really colorful parts. You can see the guests enter the temple here, and there's also a ghost train that travels in and around this entry. They actually also travel on the roof for a part of the track. Here you can actually see it pop out of the building. So yeah, if we take a little look inside, you can see lots of different rooms, also decorated. You can We'll see a human guinea pig over here. But yeah, nicely decorated rooms here. What I would have liked to see actually here in this building is, instead of the sandy floor, maybe it would have been nice to actually put some floor tiles here. And then maybe some different floor tiles per floor. I think that would have made it look... yeah, it probably would have gotten a higher score if that was done here. But even without that, I think this is actually done pretty nicely. Here you can actually see some floor tiles on the second floor. Yeah, there does seem to be a bit of empty space here. Maybe the layout could have been extended a little bit more in this part of the temple. But yeah, I think it's actually a fun layout. Also nice to see it travel on top of this temple. Yeah, just a really nice entry from the Brood. Right, next entry is from FlexSpy. He made this beautiful castle here. Very interesting shape for the building. And I really like how he did these walls for the building and these windows. But also, yeah, the rock work here and the foliage. Yeah, I think it's all really nice to look at. Although it is sometimes a little bit glitchy when this dragon passes over. Now, I sometimes see people put a dragon in the entries like this. When you do that, I think it's always good practice to make them a little bit slower than this one. Because if you have stuff in your entry that moves around really erratically, it can be a little bit distracting. Now, if we use the cutaway view to look inside the building here, yeah, we can see a little bit of decoration and not actually too much. You can see that this entry is mostly about how it looks on the outside. If we look at the track layout, it does look a little bit on the fast side in some parts. Especially over here, it does look a little bit more like a roller coaster than a ghost train track. So, in my opinion, this layout probably could have been a little bit more interesting. But yeah, like I already said, the outside of this building does look really nice. And it's actually fun to see the ghost trains travel outside here for a small bit. Okay, here's the entry from Zacchaeus. The scores are already getting quite high. Now, I loved this entry. I really like the colors here actually. There's this green and there's this bluish purple. Actually kind of gives me Banjo-Kazooie vibes. Yeah, lots of different decorations here. But yeah, there's just nice colors throughout. Very spooky decorations as well, with all these pumpkins and skulls. I also really like this green toxic water throughout. So already the mood in this entry, I think it's great. Now we can see these cars actually travel quite fast throughout the entry. I'm going to assume that the speed of these cars was modified with the right vehicle editor. Now we can also take a look inside of the building here. And I love this spiral section. So the cars actually travel upwards here. But there's also a spiral traveling downwards, or there's actually two of them, where these ghost train cars yeah, go downwards for a section of the track. They actually travel quite fast here. Kind of looks pretty hilarious. Right after these doors, they actually slam into the brakes. But yeah, I thought this was a really wonderful entry. Just beautiful decorations throughout. And interesting ride design as well. Just an amazing entry from Zacchaeus. This was definitely one of my favorites. Alright, in third place we have this entry from Berem the Bomb. Berem the Boomer. Looks like I beat the scenario. Yeah, there's this beautiful building here. I believe the story was something about Nikola Tesla. Now, I can't recall the entire story, but it was really interesting. Oh, yeah, we can see all these rockets flying around. We can see a cloud here with some thunder. There's also a guest here saying, hit me, lightning. I guess this guest has a death wish. See what looks like a telescope over here. These spires for these towers, I think they're beautiful. See lots of equipment here. This looks like a set of teleporters. This looks like teleport pods. I love the way all these walls are decorated. It looks very urban. Yeah, we can see all these bricks here with these windows. Some nice coloring here as well. And of course also a ghost train track in here. The ghost train track, in my opinion, does look a little bit repetitive. You can see it pops out a lot of times here, every time in one of these circles here. And these circles also look a little bit glitchy. You can see them pop through these scenery objects. So perhaps a little bit care could have been taken there. Still, these buildings, of course, they look incredible. This is just so nicely decorated. And there's just lots of beautiful little things to see here. Now, of course, all these entries can be downloaded from my Discord server if you want to see them for yourself. The link to my Discord server is in the video description, and Discord is completely free. And of course, I cannot possibly cover all the details that you can find in this entry. So I think it's definitely worth to check out these entries for yourself. Anyway, there are just 2 entries remaining. I will first show both of them, and after that I will reveal which one is the winner of this round. Okay, here we have the entry from Lurker. Lurker made this beautiful mansion here called Blackleaf Mansion. Yeah, as usual from our Lurker entry, beautiful landscaping here. I like how you can see some different themes here. Here there's a really rocky part, so with some bones. And closer to the castle it's more overgrown. And here in the front we can see a little graveyard, some more green trees. I also really like this hole under the path here where you can actually see lots of fossils and bones. That's a really neat detail. Now you can also see these monorail cycles flying around. Of course, I'm going to assume these represent birds, or they actually represent bats. You'll see a Mr. Bones here. And of course there's also a ghost train ride traveling through here. Now let's quickly use the cutaway view so we can take a look inside. Yeah, the building is not decorated a lot inside. We can see some scenery objects here and there next to the track. But still, overall this just looks really beautiful. And yeah, this is just of course the Lurker that we know. He always makes these beautiful entries. I think this entry is no exception. I just really love the shape of this building, the great landscaping, and just the nice detailing outside here everywhere. Great entry. Alright, and here's the final entry. This one's from Lord Blackadder. Now, Lord Blackadder always makes beautiful entries for these contests, and this is no exception. Yeah, there's just so many great tricks that have been used here. So this ghost train track, I think it looks beautiful. It starts over here in this building. We can see the queue here. And what I actually really like already in this part of the building, you can see the staircase here, which looks beautiful with its red color. And you can actually see a little window over here, which looks like a painting. But yeah, you can actually see through it, and there you can see more of the guests queuing. Yeah, this is just really creative, I think. Now, over here we can see it pass through this room, which also looks like it has a nice painting here in the corner. So this campfire, I think it's in a really nice location. Down here we can see a library. Now, what I really liked was how Blackadder used these candy walls to represent books. I think they work beautifully for that. I don't think I've ever seen anybody use these candy walls for this. Yeah, it's just such a clever trick. You can also see some objects that you typically never see anybody use, like this globe, but it just fits here perfectly, I think. Now here's another really cool trick. Here you can see a mirror room. So it looks like Blackadder synchronized a ride right next to this track over here. and he just made it look like everything here is a little bit more pale. And yeah, it's just such a great trick to make it look like there's actually a mirror here. Now over here is another room with lots of piping, and yeah, looks like some toxic stuff going on. This story was about Jekyll and Hyde. So here we can see Dr. Jekyll transmutating in this goo. And here's a little room with some plants, and here's another object that you don't see being used very often. Some kind of plants from one of the expansions of Roller Coaster Tycoon 2. And over here there's a big room, which kind of reminds me of the Vliegende Hollander at the Efteling. Yeah, it looks like some sort of medieval village here. But yeah, this I think this is just an amazing entry. All these rooms here are just done so nicely. So many cool tricks have been used here, so this was definitely my favorite entry. But yeah, this was my favorite entry. I think it's now time to see which one of these last two entries has been made the winner by our voters. The winner of the mini ghost train contest is... Lord Blackadder. Now, I don't think it's a surprise that this entry won. Lurker's entry was really good, but this entry was, in my opinion, far above any of the other entries that we've seen in this round. This entry actually got the highest score that I've ever seen anybody get in one of our contests. It's just that good. Yeah, it's just an amazing entry from Lord Blackadder. Yeah, I just love all the little details here. But yeah, I thought we saw a lot of cool entries in this round. Not only the one from Lord Blackadder was nice. There were a lot of nice ones. Yeah, I just can't wait to get started on the next mini contest. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed watching all these entries. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, please consider giving it a like. It would really help out my channel. And let me know in the comments what you think of these entries and which one was your favorite. Alright, hope you liked the video, and I'll see you again in the next one. See you later.